it would seem to me that there will be a fairly dramatic effect on them. All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. A little bit of information about myself for those of you who are new to the channel. I have a background in accounting. I started my career as a CPA. I have not done that in a long time. However, I've spent over 30 years working with numbers, and I have a lot of experience in trading. So what I hope to do is share some of my experience with you, and we can all make some money along the way. We cover Bitcoin and the Bitcoin mining companies quite a bit on this channel, so if you're interested in that content, please subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy this video, please do us a favor and like the video. We're making a push for 5,000 subscribers, so anybody that subscribes would be greatly appreciated. Today I want to talk to you about a company called HIVE Blockchain, stock ticker HIVE. The reason I want to look at HIVE is yesterday they released a press release giving their October operations update. So there was a lot of really good stuff in there, some surprising numbers. So what I'd like to do is go through their operations update, and then I would like to compare them to a few of their peers. Then I'd like to look at their chart and talk about potential stock price movement in the future. There is what I will call a potential looming big problem with HIVE. So I want to go through that in detail as well, because that affects the entire conversation around their worth and their stock price. Let's start by diving into the press release. Okay, so this was November 22nd. Today is November 23rd in the middle of trading day. HIVE presents record October 2021 production figures, total 1,350 Bitcoins as of October. So let's look at the numbers. October 2021 production figures. So in October, $23.4 million in revenue. So $23.4 million in revenue, I think, would be amongst the leaders of the North American miners, not necessarily in first place, but very competitive. 234 Bitcoin produced, 2,591 Ethereum produced. So we'll just talk about that split for a minute. So they're projecting, using October figures, the next 12 months, potential of $280 million of revenue. They then go on to say, we would like the investing public and the crypto enthusiasts to understand the financial relationship between Bitcoin and Ethereum mining. HIVE is different than a lot of the other mining companies that are publicly traded. HIVE has a split between Bitcoin mining and Ethereum mining. There are a few other miners that also mine Ethereum, but nowhere near to the extent that HIVE does. And HUT, for instance, mines Ethereum. However, they get paid in Bitcoin. So they hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet versus HIVE, who holds their Bitcoin as Bitcoin, and they hold the Ethereum that they mine as Ethereum. And there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about that later. So they go through a conversion here, but essentially what they say is the 2,591 ETH that HIVE produced is approximately equal in value to 171 Bitcoin. So in addition to that, they did mine 234 Bitcoin. So that is a total for October of Bitcoin equivalents of 405. So that is one of the highest numbers out of all of the North American miners. So I want to go to a quick chart that I made over the weekend. And this is just comparing Marathon, Riot, and HIVE. And why do I pick those two? Marathon and Riot are the two highest market cap Bitcoin mining companies in North America. And they're the largest by quite a bit. They were the first to be publicly traded on NASDAQ, so they have a little bit of a head start from that standpoint. A lot of the other miners in North America are from Canada, and they recently listed themselves on the NASDAQ in the year 2021. So I think there will be some catching up over time, but there are some discrepancies that, in my opinion, still exist between the Canadian miners that have recently listed and Riot and Marathon, who have been listed, whose market cap seems to be disproportionate to the others. And I'm going to run you through these numbers and show you why I think that. So the first thing is, let's look at market cap. So these are a day or two out of date, but they're still in a similar proportion. So Marathon at that point was worth $5.6 billion. Riot was worth about $4.2 billion. And HIVE had a market cap of $1.6 billion. So you can see from that perspective, HIVE's market cap and therefore stock price is significantly lower than Marathon and Riot in comparison. So let's take a look at their operations and see if that makes sense. I have here the October mining results for all three companies. So Marathon mined 418 Bitcoin in October. That was the second most out of any North American miner. Riot actually led all North American miners with 464 Bitcoin mined, and Hive was in third place with 405 Bitcoin equivalents mined. Now, that was about 60% Bitcoin, 40% Ethereum. These three stand out with just, one notch more of production than the rest of the industry at this point. Next thing I looked at is Q3 revenue. So Marathon's most recent quarter revenue was $51.7 million. Riot's most recent quarter revenue was $53.5 million. Hive's revenue was $52.6 million. Now, I want to specify, this is mining revenue. Some of these companies, Riot in specific, has a significant amount of other revenue. They have about $10 million in hosting revenue. However, they lose money on that at the moment. So it would not be apples to apples to include that. What I've tried to do is a direct comparison and include the mining revenue from each of these three companies. So after this, it drops off to the low to the mid 40 millions for the rest of the companies. The other piece of the puzzle I looked at was how much cryptocurrency do they have on their balance sheet. So they all have a HODL strategy. And again, I've had to do this in BTC equivalents because Hive is split between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Here you'll see Marathon has a big lead with 7,453 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Now, they did buy 4,000 of those at the beginning of 2021. So Riot with 3,995, I believe, has the most of their own self-mined Bitcoin. And Hive is in third place with a combination of Bitcoin and Ethereum at 2,838 BTC equivalents. So from that standpoint, Riot is pretty significantly ahead of Hive, and Marathon's pretty significantly ahead of Riot. So that is one piece of the puzzle. However, if you look at the Bitcoin mined and the revenue on a quarterly basis, in addition to that, I don't have on here the income. Hive made substantial income in Q3. So when you look at these three combined, it would appear they're in many ways similar in size. So the question is, why is Hive valued so significantly less from a market cap standpoint? Well, I want to talk about one of the reasons. In management's discussion of their September 30th, 2021 quarterly results, they have the following paragraph. So basically, to sum up what they said there is, it is generally accepted that Ethereum is going to switch from a proof of work to a proof of stake, at which point the process of mining Ethereum based on the amount of hash rate you have will be irrelevant. So the traditional model of mining Ethereum, which Hive is operating under right now to a significant extent, is going to change greatly. Now you can see in the language that they provided, they're not sure when or if this is actually going to be implemented. It would appear that the consensus is this is inevitable. In listening to management talk and reading this statement, it does not seem that they are convinced it's inevitable, and it does seem that they believe that even if and when it is implemented, there will continue to be delays as there have been in the past. This keeps getting pushed out and pushed out. They're now talking about the first half of 2022, so that would give them a couple of more quarters. Now, the gross profit they make on mining Ethereum right now is incredible. It pushes 95%. So if they can only do that for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 more quarters, I think they're willing to do that because that makes them a lot of money. But I don't think they're yet convinced that proof of stake is inevitable. They did talk about high performance computing. So in the event that does happen, I think they have a twofold strategy. Number one, as they have a lot of Ethereum on their balance sheet, from a proof of stake standpoint, they will still mine Ethereum. They can use the massive amount of computing power they have and get high performance computing revenue by renting that computing power to other companies. So it is unclear to me how that compares to their current model of mining Ethereum. It would seem to me that there will be a fairly dramatic effect on them. Like their paragraph says, I'm not sure anybody's quantified that yet. So because they are about 40% Ethereum mining and they continue to buy Ethereum machines, there is a question mark out there. Now, I want to show you a graph because there's a chart that would seem to be in direct opposition to everything that we just said. This chart is the Ethereum network hash rate. This is over the last 3 years. So you will see that there's been a gradual increase. There was a peak at one point in May of 2021. We had a little bit of a dip, but you'll see a dramatic increase from late June of 2021 So the worldwide hash rate is now at 863, where in January it was at 306. So it's getting close to a triple at this point. So I guess my question is, if Ethereum mining is going to become worthless, why is it that the global Ethereum network hash rate is growing so dramatically and so rapidly? So this gives me some indication that whether these machines continue to mine Ethereum or they have to switch over to an altcoin or to sell high performance computing power, it would seem to me that the marketplace seems to think there's value in these machines, because whereas the Bitcoin global hash rate still isn't even back to where it was in May, Ethereum's has skyrocketed. I'm just trying to give you all the pieces of the puzzle. You guys are going to have to figure out how this works together and what effect this has on a going forward basis. So with all that said, let's take a quick look at the chart. This is HIVE's recent chart on the 4-hour candle. So this goes back from September 29th, which we have been calling the beginning of the recent bull run, through today. So from the beginning of the bull run up to their high on November 9th, like everybody else, they were up about 115%. So that was also very similar across the mining industry. The North American miners were all up mostly over 100% in that window of time. Conversely, they have all mostly pulled back since that period. From the all-time high on November 9th down to where HIVE is trading today is almost a 30% decrease. They're very close to this yellow line at $3.74, and they've actually, for the most part, stayed above that closer to $3.85. So that puts them very near their recent strong level of support. As Bitcoin gets healthier and continues its bull run, I'm expecting some significant upside in HIVE in the short term. So, for instance, just to get back from where we are right now to back to where we were on November 9th, that's almost a 43% increase in price. If Bitcoin really picks up its bull run, I would expect that before the end of the year, we would even get past this. If Ethereum proof of stake is implemented, what long-term effect is that going to have on HIVE, and what is that going to mean for their stock price on a long-term basis? Management seems fairly confident that they have a transition plan if and when that happens, but I want to bring it up because I do think it's one of the things that has suppressed the price of this stock, because you'll see when compared to its peers, it is significantly undervalued versus those two. So again, this is not financial advice. This is how I am playing HIVE. It appears to me that there is some short-term upside in this. Hopefully, I've provided some information for you guys to go through, and you can do your own due diligence and decide what your investment thesis is on this company. So that is my update on HIVE. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.